In September 2015, after 22-month-old Sadie Willet was killed by her mother in Manchester, Police Chief Nick Willard came forward to say that New Hampshire's Department for Children, Youth and Families had failed Sadie. His forthright declaration helped spark efforts that continue today to reform DCYF and ensure that further child deaths are prevented. Chief Willard joins us today. Chief, thanks for being here.
It's good to be here, Adam.
We appreciate you.
I'm a big fan of CloseUp.
All right, yeah, we got to make sure that you leave your TV on for Sunday too, so we get our one viewer there.
That sounds good.
But that statement, even 2 years later, it still stands out. And that wasn't something that you said lightly. That was probably something that was cumulative, and it's prompted people to act. But why did you feel you needed to speak out?
We, as an investigative agency, investigating child abuse, neglect, sexual exploitation of children, we take these to heart. And when we're not getting the information from an organization that's tasked with the protection of these children, and if the children are at risk, to notify law enforcement. We had incidents in which DCYF wasn't notifying us in a timely manner, which led us to actually charge one of the caseworkers, which was unprecedented. But to us, it was so important to hold each of us accountable for what our job is, and the protection of children are paramount. So to hear one agency be critical or even take another agency to task is difficult, but when it comes to children, we have to get past our own relationships and expect more of each other. We weren't getting it from DCYF. It led to the death of a child, and I was frustrated. I didn't necessarily intend to speak out as I did when I was speaking to that reporter, but my frustration, frankly, had just bubbled over, and I'm glad it led to some reforms. I'm concerned about some of how the caseworkers felt about my criticism, because these are hard-working individuals. I don't think they were doing anything malicious. But in the Sadie Willet case, in which they didn't protect the child, they did fail that child. It did lead to that child's death. But even more egregious is the fact that they didn't release information about the child's previous cases, which we asked for, and they had always done it in the past. This time they refused to, so we knew there's smoke there has to be fire. If they're refusing to reveal these records, we knew that there was some abuse that wasn't reported in the past, just from our investigation. They made us go through the Attorney General's office. That's when I had had enough. That's why I felt it was important to shed light to it, and I did.
Here we are 2 years later now. Is DCYF changing the way it's doing things? Is that relationship been repaired? Yeah, some of the initial
reforms that have been recommended, such as extending the hours till 8 o'clock at night, and having the 24-hour call-in, so we can actually call and get somebody in 24 hours a day, which hadn't been done previously. Those have been of great help. I spoke to my lieutenant in charge of our juvenile unit, and she said that very thing to me, that it is working. More reforms need to be done. I think we really need to help the caseworkers to attract high-quality caseworkers, shrink their caseload so they don't get burnt out. And frankly, I think if we increase their pay so it's more consistent with what the surrounding states are, I think you'll get quality people and you'll get retention. That's what I think we need.
And now you're a part of this Child Services Oversight Commission. Are those some of the recommendations you're going to be bringing forward as we look at, sort of as a state, how to improve these services?
Actually, Jeff Myers spoke in front of the commission the other day. He's the Director of Health and Human Services. He's already brought a deputy on board that she seems stellar. So I think what I said to you about retention, attracting quality people, they're already working on that. And I was very happy to hear that. So I think the state is definitely going in the right direction.
In 2016, I believe, half of all DCYF involved cases had some sort of connection to substance abuse disorder. Do we see this, we have this opioid crisis, that kind of bleeds over into being a parenting crisis as well?
It's absolutely a parenting crisis. Our foster care systems are stressed out. Our CASA volunteers can only take so many cases because there's so many children who are living with addicted parents that have to be removed from the home. And those children need advocacy, right? They need to have a voice. CASA is just brilliant at doing that. There are more grandparents now who are raising their children. Yesterday I was at Parker Viney School having lunch with the children, and the principal there told me that they've lost 7 parents to the opioid epidemic from September last year to September this year. And each one of those parents have children in that school system. And I think that's a a demographic in this whole opioid crisis that really isn't getting the attention it needs. We really need to dig down to the earliest of ages and have as much early intervention as we possibly can.
On the opioid crisis, we saw a big spike in overdoses in September. What's driving that?
What's driving the spike in overdoses is the inconsistent manner in which the drug supplier mixes the drugs. So what happens is a drug supplier will get drugs from Mexico. They then will mix them with these these small blenders that is really non-scientific, and then they use what's cut, which is something that they blend the fentanyl with. It could be boric acid, it could be whey protein, whatever they're choosing to use at the time. But the way they mix it and then they package it is so inconsistent that even the drug dealer, when they're bringing their drugs up to Manchester out of Lawrence, they don't know the potency of the drugs they're using or selling until the user starts to tell them it's either not strong enough, it's too strong, or they start seeing overdoses. When the drug detectives are telling me that their confidential informants are telling them the drug dealers are selling drugs, saying, be really careful, I don't know how strong this is, that's why you're seeing it, is you have individual suppliers who mix it themselves, and they're doing so in such a non-scientific way that people are overdosing at an alarming rate right now.
In terms of child protection, obviously you're very concerned about that, but you're also taking some steps on TV. Lately, there's a Beards for Bucks campaign that's going on. Let's take a look at the PSA that Chief Willard just recently filmed.
This October, if you notice a Raleigh fingers, chevron, or handlebar out and about, know it's in support of your local child advocacy center by officers that work day in and day out to help child victims of abuse. So every chin cozy, Fu Manchu, and Big Papi you see isn't just a fashion statement, it's raising money for our kids. Donate today at beardsforbucks.org.
So that one was an all-day shoot, and you've got the scruff going right now. Is it true that you still have old-school cops who will stop your guys and be like, "What's going on? What's with all these the beards here?"
Not as much as we used to.
Okay, they caught on.
But now they get it. The first year it was really that way. But you know, this was something done, the brainchild of Peter Connors and Joy Barrett of the Child Advocacy Center to put out a PSA. Peter Connors got an incredible group of talented professionals on a Sunday to give of themselves freely to make that PSA, to push out our message. You know, the Child Advocacy Center does forensic interviews of children who are sexually abused or experience violence in the home. Whereas in the past, a detective would do an interview with the child, and then a prosecutor or an advocate. So the child would have to retell this very traumatic event in their life over and over again. The CAC does one interview with a forensically trained interviewer, and what they do is, while they're doing the interview, the police detective, the prosecutor, whoever would want to have the information, watches it in real time, and they can communicate through an earpiece. So it really helps protect the children. It's incredibly important to me. And when you go into the building, the CAC building, every child that has been interviewed will put their hand in paint and put their hand on the wall. And when you see the wall in the office is just covered with handprints, and to know that all those hands or all those walls have been painted over more than once, you know, it tells you the number of children out there that are experiencing incredible trauma in their lives. And so it's our job to do the best we can, not just to help protect them, but to nurture them and then rebuild them back. And I think that's what I love most about the Child Advocacy Center.
Well, Chief, there are a lot of public policy problems, and you guys are on the front lines, and we appreciate the service that you bring, and thanks for coming in to talk to us today.
Yes, sir. Thank you.